We've already got one friendly Borg face returning to Star Trek Picard. Now Jonathan Del Arco is reprising his iconic Borg character. So let's explore who exactly that character is. Hello everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Trek Central. This year at San Diego Comic Con, it was confirmed that Jonathan Del Arco would reprise his role as Hugh, the Borg drone, for the upcoming and highly anticipated Star Trek Picard series. It's been 27 years since we last saw Hugh on our screens, so today we're going to recap who exactly he is. Let's head into Star Trek lore and find out a bit more about the character and what he could be doing in the new series. Hugh, who was originally known by his Borg designation as Third of Five, was discovered by an away team from the USS Enterprise D, comprised of Commander William T. Riker, Lieutenant Worf, and Dr. Beverly Crusher in the year of 2368, while charting the Argolius cluster. Understandably, being a Borg drone, he was seen as a threat to the crew of the Enterprise, and by extension the Federation. It was originally decided that he should be left to die from his injuries at the crash site along with 4 other already dead Borg drones. It was only at Dr. Crusher's order to bring him aboard the starship for medical attention against Captain Picard's protest that he was saved from an early grave. Whilst he is being treated for his injuries, it is noted that several of his Borg implants are damaged. With that, Picard takes the opportunity to use him to introduce a virus into the collective and destroy them once and for all. Dr. Crusher is against the idea, stating, "You make it sound like as it's a disease." Nevertheless, Picard orders Lieutenant Commander Data and Chief Engineer Geordi LaForge to devise a method of using the captured Borg drone to destroy the collective from within. It's worth noting that Dr. Crusher did not agree with the captain's course of action in this case, as regardless who or what the Borg were, it would still be exterminating an entire race. When Third of Five eventually reactivates, he's confused and searching for a way to contact the collective. This is likely the first time he's been disconnected since his assimilation by the Borg. LaForge installs a power cell into the brig in an attempt to mimic the regeneration alcoves commonly found on a Borg cube. Third of Five shows no gratitude for this, nor any sign of humanity, merely reciting that terrifying Borg phrase, "You will be assimilated, resistance is futile." During more scans, he initiates conversation with LaForge and Crusher, something that likely any other drone wouldn't do in a civilized manner, other than to invite them into their impending doom. He learns that not everyone or everything have designations, rather names. Along with that, he learns from LaForge that humans did not want to be assimilated into the collective, which initially confused Third of Five, as that's all he knew. From this conversation, LaForge decides to give him the common name we all know him by, Hugh.
We are Hugh.
This name was originally given by mispronunciation of the word you, linking back to that sense of individuality. More of his growing humanity begins to appear when he meets with Guinan. Originally she did not want to go near the drone due to her past with the Borg. Hugh hears of the Elorians' struggle and how they resisted the Borg when they came and destroyed their world, and he sees her as proof that resistance is not futile. He is clearly remorseful for his past actions and fear that not only the Borg, but he brings upon other cultures. Captain Picard eventually confronts Hugh and he immediately knows Picard as Locutus of Borg, the captain's former Borg designation from when he was assimilated in 2366, 2 years prior. This is used to press Hugh into answers for his Borg designation, dismissing his given name, urging for his assistance in assimilating the vessel, but Hugh comes back with such a conviction of individuality, emphasizing, "I do not wish it," meaning he will not assist. Still, Hugh argues Picard's insistence that he is a Borg with, "I am Hugh."
I am Hugh.
Picard is left stunned that in such a short time from being disconnected from the collective, that a Borg drone has learnt so much individuality. This encounter with the drone leads Picard to decide to not use Hugh as a weapon against the Borg, instead offering Hugh asylum aboard the Enterprise if he so wished. Hugh ultimately decides that he'll return to the collective, as they would not stop looking for him until he was found. His decision to return ultimately protects the Enterprise D and the crew from harm. Essentially, Hugh is protecting those he came to know well. Hugh is retrieved by the Borg drones at the crash site, one of which connects with him, and apparently Hugh is purged. As he and the other drones move to collect other components from the fallen Borg, they begin to beam away. Hugh looks at LaForge, previously ignored by the other 2 drones, before he transports away, suggesting that his individuality is still intact. The collective installed Hugh aboard a new Borg cube, but quickly found that his new sense of individuality proved to be just as deadly as any files stored within him. Hugh's experiences aboard the Enterprise eventually spread to the other Borg drones aboard the cube, leading the ship to fall into a complete state of disarray due to the Borg's new sense of shared identity being disrupted. Hugh's experiences aboard the Enterprise eventually spread to the other Borg drones aboard the ship, leaving the cube to fall into a complete state of disarray due to the Borg's sense of shared identity being disrupted, therefore making them no longer able to function. The collective fearing that this virus, in a manner of speaking, could spread to other Borg disconnected Hugh's cube from the hive mind, leaving it to drift in space alone and without a purpose. In 2370, Hugh's Borg cube was discovered by the soon-type android Lore, brother of Enterprise D officer Data. Lore takes advantage of the confused Borg drones, including Hugh, and asserts himself as their new leader. Though Lore brought chaos to order and allowed the drones to keep their new sense of individuality, he still controlled them and went as far to experiment on them in brutal attempts to recreate the Borg crew in his own image, leaving the drones with severe injuries. Hugh already disapproved of Lore's actions and since became an underground leader himself over a handful of drone followers. When the Enterprise D discovered him and the others, he is angry at first, blaming them for the damage caused, resulting in Lore using his friends' experiments as he ruled over them. Despite his initial anger towards seeing Commander Riker and Worf, he eventually assists them in rescuing Captain Picard, LaForge and Troy, who have been taken hostage. Hugh and his drone followers also recapture Data from Lore and therefore he is eventually defeated. With the conclusion of events, Hugh is thanked by Captain Picard, who remarks that even though Hugh and his drones are unsure of their future, they might have a new individual leader in the form of Hugh for the future. This is the last we see of Hugh in Star Trek lore for the moment. Until Star Trek Picard airs in 2020, we still don't know exactly what Hugh has been up to. Although the canon of Hugh is not yet complete as we are waiting for the new series to air, we still might be able to get an idea for the upcoming future of the character if we look into the extended canon of Star Trek. With Hugh recognised as the leader of the independent Borg, him and his followers established a homeworld on a planet belonging to the Borg Collective. This planet effectively serves as a dumping ground for damaged or broken drones. Hugh, along with another of his faction, a female Borg called Miko, worked hard to save any drone they could, healing and repairing them so they become independent just like Hugh and his followers. The original series novel, Avenger, covers an event where James T. Kirk destroyed the Borg central node and encounters Hugh as he almost dies. Hugh teaches Kirk on how to heal himself, while Kirk helps Hugh recover the Borg drones that survived the central node's destruction. This chain of events leads Hugh to found the independent nation of Borg, which consists of all liberated Borg drones that are free from the collective hive mind. Although the nation of Borg sought to be recognised differently from that of the Borg Collective, they ultimately failed. In order to prevent further conflict from other species and those who opposed any Borg, Hugh and the nation retreated into the Delta Quadrant so they could continue their goal of restoring individuality to other Borg drones in peace. Now Hugh would have a connection to another former Borg drone we all know quite well, 7 of 9. View of 2374 saw Hugh approaching 7 of 9 and asking her to be the nation's ambassador to the Federation, as well as asking her to join his faction. 7 declined the invitation to join, but did agree that she would speak on his behalf when the USS Voyager returned to Earth. There are a few other extended lore stories, mostly told through various The Next Generation novels, but I'll leave links to them down below should you want to read them for yourselves. Now heading to the MMO Star Trek Online, Hugh returns in the game's expansion Delta Rising, as the leader of the Cooperative, a faction of liberated Borg with a mission of freeing drones from the Collective. Whilst they still share the common goal of perfection, they do not force it on those who do not wish it. Actor Jonathan Del Arco does not reprise his role for Hugh in the game, but maybe this will be updated at a later date now the character is being brought back. We'll have a few videos and web articles coming soon on Star Trek Online, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Looking at how Hugh might tie into Star Trek Picard is interesting. Canonically, Hugh is the first truly individual drone, already shown to be a leader, and now I'd imagine with a large liberated Borg following. This could be attributed to the events that 7 of 9 helped set in motion in Ultra Matrix Zero that saw numerous Borg from across the galaxy fighting to be free again, and potentially be found by Hugh and his followers. We also have interviews with Del Arco where he said that Hugh is seen in a much more leadership role, so this seems likely that he'll have Borg followers behind him in Star Trek Picard. The Borg do have some sort of involvement with the story of the upcoming series. Apart from little tidbits of information and speculation, we simply do not yet know how Hugh will fit into the story. Regardless, it'll be great to see Jonathan Del Arco back on our screens as Hugh. What do you all think? We'd love to hear what theories you have or what story you'd like to hear from his efforts in liberating the Borg. That brings this strangely lovable character back into Star Trek Picard. That finishes up our video on Hugh, granted it's straight towards theorising at the end, but hopefully this gives you an idea of who he was and what he's become, and what he might be up to when we see him return. For more Star Trek lore, news and other information, make sure to subscribe to Trek Central here on YouTube. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or come join our Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.